Secretary Hegseth, that is obviously in direct contradiction to what you said from the Pentagon podium the next day. So are you saying that these soldiers, our soldiers who survived this horrific attack, are lying?
What I'm saying is before the commencement of the conflict, we put in maximum defensive posture we could.
That's a direct contradiction.
We moved 70
to what they said.
In this directing. Can I speak, or are you just going to monologue falsehoods all over the place?
It's not a falsehood.
We moved 7,500 troops off of the X based on the intel.
Stop.
Based on the intel.
Stop. Reclaiming my time.
Because this is the moment Pete Hegseth stopped being a Secretary of Defense and became a man desperately trying to survive a hearing room. Because when a member of Congress finally asked him a straight question, he didn't have a straight answer. He had excuses, he had talking points, he had everything except the truth.
Yes. It does bother me that our footprint has gotten so much smaller over there, but I do know with drones and other things, it makes it much more difficult to have those outposts. But I appreciate all of you being here. Sorry that I have not been here.
No, sir. Appreciate the other work.
Gentleman yields back. Chair, and I recognize the gentleman from New York, Mr. Ryan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Head wounds, heavy bleeding, and then just shrapnel all over. So folks are bleeding from their abdomen, bleeding from arms, bleeding from legs. Secretary Hegseth, do you know who said that?
I'm not sure I do.
It was one of our soldiers describing the devastating Iranian drone strike at Port Shuaibah, March 1st in Kuwait. As you know, 6 of our soldiers killed, over 30 wounded. Secretary, do you know the range of the Shahed 136 one-way attack drone, approximately?
It depends on the variant, but it's got serious distance.
Several hundred miles. Mm-hmm. Do you know how far Port Shuaibah is from Iran?
There's a reason why we took extreme measures for force protection, because we understood the proximity challenges.
Mr. Chair, I'm going to reclaim my time. It's well under 100 miles. Before the war started, there was clear intelligence that Shuaibah was high on Iran's target list. Internal analysis had said the site was indefensible from aerial attack and should not be used. Yet you sent our soldiers from the 103rd Sustainment Command there anyway. Is that true or false? True or false? Straightforward question.
Are you going to give me a chance to answer, or just play gotcha?
Did you send them there or not?
We took proactive measures from the beginning to ensure force protection and defensive posture were maximized across the theater.
Let's talk about what defenses they had. Prior to the attack, officers on the ground knew our troops were vulnerable. In fact, they requested additional force protection. Did they receive it?
Wherever humanly possible, force protection and counter UAS was always made available.
They did not. In fact, when asked to describe the base's defense, one survivor who's come forward from the unit said, quote, I would put it in the none category. From a drone defense capability, none. So let's be clear, no counter-drone capabilities, no counter-rocket systems, no counter-mortar or counter-artillery, not even the basic overhead protection that you and I had 20 years ago in Iraq, and now 6 of our soldiers are dead. The next day, you downplayed the attack. You said it was a squirter that squeaked through fortified defenses. But since then, thankfully, brave survivors have come forward to set the record straight. One of our surviving soldiers told CBS, quote, painting a picture that one squeaked through is a falsehood.
Let's be honest about what we just watched. This isn't politics as usual. This is a man who sent American troops into a position that internal military analysis had already flagged as indefensible, and then stood behind a podium the next day and tried to sell the country a fairy tale about what happened. Hegseth had every opportunity to be straight with the American people. Instead, he chose spin. He chose the kind of the hollow, rehearsed non-answers that Pentagon officials give when they know the truth doesn't help them. Proactive measures, maximum defensive posture. That's not leadership. That's a man reading from a script written by lawyers, not by someone who actually cares about the soldiers he's responsible for. And here's what makes it worse. It's not just politicians calling him out anymore. It's the soldiers themselves.
Another said the unit was, quote, unprepared to provide any defense for itself. It was not a fortified position. Another survivor said the building's protection was about as weak as one gets. Secretary Hegseth, that is obviously in direct contradiction to what you said from the Pentagon podium the next day. So are you saying that these soldiers, our soldiers who survived this horrific attack, are lying?
What I'm saying is before the commencement of the conflict, we put in maximum defensive posture we could.
That's a direct contradiction.
We moved 70
to what they said.
in this directing. Can I speak, or are you just going to monologue falsehoods all over the place?
It's not a falsehood.
We moved 7,500 troops off of the X based on the intel.
Stop.
Based on the intel.
Stop. Reclaiming my time.
Because you yell doesn't make you right. Just because you yell doesn't make you right.
I'm reclaiming my time on behalf of these survivors. You just said what they said is a falsehood.
There's a much larger picture.
True?
There's a much larger picture at play here that included integrated air defenses, bunkers, moving people off the X
why, Mr. Secretary,
to ensure that they were not part of the target. We moved those troops and all across the theater, thousands of troops off the X, off of their bases, because we knew what Iran was going to try to strike, and we knew there could be a tragic moment. There could be a tragic moment where something could get through. Of course, that's the consequence of conflict, and we remember those 6 every single day.
I want to finish.
But don't play games with.
I'm not playing games. I want to finish with one more quote from a survivor of the attack, and I'll put this on the record. Telling the truth is important, and we're not going to learn from these mistakes if we pretend these mistakes didn't happen. Secretary Hegseth, those soldiers told the truth. Those soldiers are braver than you are.
I commend them.
They are asking for accountability. They deserve accountability. And I'm asking for the same, starting with you. And as I said a year ago, you need to resign immediately.
I commend those soldiers.
I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Chair now recognizes
the men and women who were actually there, who actually bled, who actually watched their friends get hit, are now coming forward and directly contradicting what Hegseth told the entire country from that Pentagon podium. When your own troops are the ones exposing your dishonesty, that's not a messaging problem. That's a credibility collapse. Think about what that means. A Secretary of Defense is supposed to be the last line of accountability for the people we send into harm's way. Instead, this administration is treating dead and wounded American soldiers as a public relations inconvenience to be managed, rather than a tragedy to be honestly addressed. That is not a minor failure. That is a fundamental breach of trust with every family who has a son or daughter in uniform. What made this hearing so powerful wasn't just the facts. It was the way the congressman refused to let Hegseth wiggle out of it. Every time Hegseth tried to dodge, tried to pivot, tried to bury the question under bureaucratic word salad, he got pulled right back to the point. No theatrics needed. Just relentless, disciplined pressure, forcing a man who is used to getting softball treatment to actually sit there and squirm in front of the cameras. That's what real oversight looks like. Not shouting matches, not sound bites for a fundraising email. Just someone willing to ask the question twice, 3 times, as many times as it takes until the pattern of evasion becomes impossible to ignore. And the pattern here is impossible to ignore. Soldiers were sent to a location that was known to be within range of enemy drones. Warnings were reportedly raised beforehand. Requests for additional protection reportedly went unanswered. And when the worst happened, the public story that came out of the Pentagon didn't match what the survivors are now saying actually happened on the ground. If any of that is true, and multiple survivors are now saying publicly that it is, then this isn't a communications misstep. This is a leadership failure with a body count. And the man responsible for that failure spent this entire hearing trying to talk his way around it instead of accounting for it. People are done with officials who treat accountability like an inconvenience. Done with press conference spin, standing in for the truth. Done watching career politicians and appointees protect their own image instead of protecting the people who serve under them. This hearing should be the beginning of real consequences, not the end of the story. Because if a Secretary of Defense can send troops into a position flagged as indefensible, misrepresent what happened afterward, and get away with nothing more than an uncomfortable 10 minutes in front of a committee, then nothing about this job actually holds anyone accountable. 6 families are grieving tonight. And the man who owes them the truth still hasn't given it to them. This is exactly why oversight matters, why hard questions matter, and why we can't let stories like this get buried under the next news cycle. Share this video, make sure people see what actually happened in that room, and drop your reaction in the comments, because silence is exactly what people like Hegseth are counting on.